Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and this is going to be my Dragonflight Beta Affliction Warlock overview video, similar to the Destro and Demo ones that we made a few weeks ago. Affliction's finally in a state where it's still bugged. Don't get me wrong. We're finding new bugs every day for every spec, even new ones that weren't around previously, like Sacrolash. Putting that aside, I think it's in a state where it's mostly playable enough to finally make this video on it. People are asking, hey, what are the builds like? We have raid testing starting in literally 48 hours, so I think it's time to get this video out, and well, I guess go from there, because I want to play some AF in testing. So this evening we have a handful of things to talk about before we get too far in the video here. Number one, I live in Florida. There's a hurricane coming. It should be here in, I don't know, about 12-ish hours, 12, 14 hours. So I obviously I'm okay. Hopefully things go fine with that. I'm hoping I don't lose power or internet, because with that being said, raid testing is this Thursday and this Friday on beta. Now, as long as I have power and internet, my plan is to stream raid testing, well, then on stream, link somewhere on the screen here, and then have it on YouTube, this channel, the main channel, obviously, within, I would say, a couple hours of stream ending on Thursday and a bit later on Friday. Now, if I don't have internet or power, I can't really help that. So if I have a bit of a drop in content on this channel, or I'm around on Twitch for a few days, I'm fine, just lost power or lost internet. So yeah, with that being said, number two, I'm going to be uploading a handful of like short videos, like 2.5, 3-ish minutes to the Clips channel, link up here as well, covering AF, Demo, and Destro talent builds. Now, we've talked about them all in here in depth a million times in longer videos. People have been asking a lot though, what are the builds that are being played for Destro and Demo and AF in dungeons and Dragonflight, testing for like you know, raid testing starting, which we play there, Mythic Plus videos, all that kind of stuff, or I guess Mythic Plus talent builds, all that kind of stuff. So I'll have videos for each spec, one of each going up on the channel, the Clips channel, probably like 3-ish minutes long, covering a few different Mythic Plus builds / dungeon builds, and then, you know, the raid builds I've been playing for the most part. And finally, number three, the Dragonflight beta spreadsheet is indeed now live for Warlock, that is, on Patreon. For those that have been asking about it, the tier 3 Felguard rank my Patreon higher does indeed get early access to that. Link up here, I guess somewhere again for the 10th time, as well as down below in the video description. So, with that being said, let's jump right into it. Starting off with the single target build of Affliction. Alright, so getting into the single target Dread Touch build of Affliction. Number one, the class tree here, we're going to talk about it here and here only. It's the same for every build out there, basically. Important notes to hit: Wrathful Minion, Demonic Inspiration, Grimoire of Synergy, Soul Conduit, and this thing here being either Soul Keeper or Inquisitor's Gaze. Single target for here, AoE for here. I'm not going to change this for each build, but keep in mind it changes with whatever you're doing. Important thing to mention as well, we're playing SAC with every build of AF. Now, SAC is, if you like it, great. If you don't, I'm sorry. It's doing a lot of damage right now. It is increased by 15% from Wrathful Minion and 15% here as well from Demonic Inspiration. So a total of 30% damage increase if you sack a pet with these, talents being chosen. So the build here, 1 point in UA, basic things here, obviously. Rapture UA, Instant Cast Corruption, Nightfall, Shadow's Embrace, and single target. 1 point Harvester of Souls, 2 in Wrath and Agony here. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to unlock like this part of the tree here. But when it comes to like unlocking the final part, when you put points into here, there really aren't a whole lot of relevant abilities for like single target. So that's why I have the point here in Harvester. It fills into that last point to unlock the final part of the tree. Now, you can put it in like Soul Swap if you want. It's pretty bad. You can put it in here if you want. It's probably not as good as this. Both Harvester and this are probably not very good in single target, but I would assume Harvester beats Sacrolash by a little bit. So yeah, moving on from there. Obviously, Siphon Life, obviously PS. 2 points in ID, a point in Soul Tap. No CD yet. We'll see where that goes. Pandemic Invocation being 2 points. If you really don't like Pandemic Invocation, you can play Sacrolash over it, but honestly, like, it's going to be the better option in single target, probably, I would assume, by, well, a decent bit. 2 points of Withering Bolt here. They cap this at 3 dots max. 15 up to a max of 45%. Keep that in mind. 1 point in Dark Lair, a point in Haunt, 2 points in this bad ability here to get access to this great ability right here called Haunted Soul. Your Haunt spells also increase the damage of your damage over time effects to all targets by 20%. Now, this is not a buff around your Haunt target. It's not like an AoE effect around the target that has Haunt on it. This is a buff on you, the player. Unfortunately, this ability is still bugged since day 1 of alpha. Hopefully it's fixed in tomorrow's build before raid testing, but I'm going to play it in this build. You can see the debuff later, or the buff on yourself later on in the week of Warcraft 2, but we don't get an effect. But I think it's certainly worth it in single target and in the, well, even in the more AoE builds, which we'll get to in a little bit. So, and final part of the tree here, 1 point in Tormented Crescendo, which is the you know, Drain Soul proc or Shadow Bolt proc if you get it. Creeping Death, which was changed to, you know, now increase the rate. How do I word this? Increase how frequent your dots tick, but not decrease the duration. 2 points in Malefic Affliction and 1 point in Dread Touch. Now, Malefic Afflictions is what sort of enables the more dot-based damage focus of this build. Malefic Rapture causes your active Unstable Affliction to deal 10% increased damage up to 30 for the next, or for the rest of its duration. So currently, as long as your UA is on the target, this is a permanent buff. If the UA falls, this falls. If you refresh the UA, this buff still stays. So you can Rapture 3 times, just go, you know, theoretically UA, Rapture, 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 and hit the 3 stack, literally on pull. You don't want to do that, but you can. And it will stay there the entire fight. There's no duration. It's a passive just debuff on your target as long as you maintain the UA. If it falls or you move it, buff goes away, which is important because it leads into Dread Touch here. So whenever you hit that 3 stack and you Rapture, it will apply this effect. The target instead takes 20% additional damage from your damage or time effects for 6 seconds. This rewards you in your Rapture windows, rewards you for spending shards outside of them if you can. It's rewarding for having I guess, buff, debuff, maintenance kind of play style. It's a buff, but either way, both Dread Touch and Malefic Afflictions help build into that dots matter more kind of build. I get it. Everybody wants UA Suspender. I do too. It's not going to happen. But this is like what Blizz is sort of compromised in a sense. Creeping Death, Malefic Afflictions, and then Dread Touch. So with that being said, let's take a look at it in combat and see how it is. All right, so we're looking at the single target Dread Touch build of Affliction here. Once again, Dread Touch being right here. We are playing Haunted Soul. You can look for the actual buff on my character when I cast Haunt. Note that it is indeed currently bugged. It is just not working. Hopefully it's fixed soon. We're playing ID here, Pandemic Invocation. I'll try and play around it. I found out 10 minutes ago that add-ons aren't working on Valdrakken again. I don't know how that happened, but I have no weak wars to track anything. I have no plater. I have no details. So I'm going to log this and pull up the log like mid-video here to look at the damage breakdown at the end. Sorry, it's a little janky, but that's just how life is, I guess, when you're less than a month away from pre-patch. Anyways, so that being said, let's get into it. So we are playing Shadow's Embrace here as well, so I'm going to like try and stack my SE to 3 before I cast my PS and my Dark Glare. We're playing Sack, pet is sacked, combat log is running, and yeah, let's do it. So, okay. I'm not going to change the eyeball, by the way. It's just sort of there. I'm not going to hit the button. It's just sort of there. It does very bad damage. All you need to know. All right, precast the Haunt, UA, Agony, Corruption, Siphon Life, Drain for 3 stacks of Shadow's Embrace, 2, 3 PS. I'll Dark Glare. I'll Rapture Affliction 1, Affliction 2, Affliction 3, and here's the Dread Touch right there. Now, during your actual, like, Rapture windows, chances are pretty high you're probably going to overcap on, like, Dread Touch uptime. Sort of how it is. You're going to just overcap on it. You want to catch those Raptures for your actual extra dot value. But you catch my Haunt here, that would help. There's a Haunted Soul buff again, which is bugged, but it's still there. You can see it. It's a Rapture again there. There's a Dread Touch buff. And depending on your shard count here, I'm getting a lot of procs. I'll dump procs, obviously. And the big thing here is Calamitous Crescendo helps a lot with Dread Touch because you're getting so many procs so quickly, so often. You can just maintain Dread Touch passively fairly easily for a decent bit of time outside those Rapture windows. Whenever you get them, you know, every minute or so, well, I mean, like, you can basically guarantee having nearly 5 shards. Now, one thing to mention here as well is that we're not playing Soul Rot, so we have PS at 45-ish seconds. I'm holding it for a minute here just for simplicity's sake. We have it about now. I'm going to refresh dots, do this, cast the PS, start Rapturing a bit. There's my max stack of ID. Rapture a bit here. I'll Drain to catch Shadow's Embrace. I am capped here. I'm going to Rapture again, try and dump this Drain life. It gets a little chaotic at times. My Corruption fell. Sad day. It sort of is what it is. Catch my UA before it falls here. There's that. And we can Rapture again for Dread Touch. And look at our shards here. We're just sitting at 5 shards. So at this point, I'll probably try and weave Dread Touch uptime a bit more. We're already getting close to capping on shards and maintain my UA, maintain just regular dots, being Agony, all that. We have Dark Glare in about 20 roughly. My Haunt's been down for a little while. I'm not playing the best with it. Catch my UA here, but it's fine. Not having weak wars is actually like a bigger pain than I thought. We're capped on shards here. Rapture again. Catch the Siphon Life. Drain here. We have Dark Glare in like 10. I'm going to refresh my Corruption, my Agony. Siphon Life, why not? Refresh the actual Haunt, my UA. PS, we can Dark Glare, and just big Rapture spam. and just dump here. And that's like the gist of it. Now, there's more min-maxing to like maintaining Dread Touch uptime, I'm sure. I guarantee it. It's sort of hard to do without add-ons because they literally broke, I think, in tonight's like weird hotfix build they put in, whatever it was. It's sort of awkward and a little annoying. Hopefully they're working for raid testing, but overall you get the gist of it. You cast your max stack Drain Souls if you have them, maintain Shadow's Embrace. Max stack Drain Lives if you have them. Maintain Shadow's Embrace, and just try and maintain a high level of Dread Touch. And that's mostly it. So let's pull up the log here briefly. Let's do this. Single target AF, right? Grab this. It is indeed 4:37 in the, no, it's 4:40. Yeah, it's 4:37 in the morning. That's an older log. Good Lord. All right. Here's this. Now, once again, keep in mind, this is a single target build. The actual dot damage should be fairly decent. Rapture's still going to be a decent bit, but overall it should be fairly high. So Rapture coming in at 19% here. Unstable Affliction being 16%. Sacrifice being 13.2. This is what I'm saying. Sacrifice with Demonic Inspiration and Wrath of Minion is doing a lot of damage now. Whether you're playing Haunt or not, it's doing a lot of damage. A lot more than your pet would do, right? If it was sort of close, like, you know, a percent or two when you had pet utility, might be worth, you know, putting a talent point somewhere else, but it's ahead of your pet by like 5-6%. It's doing a lot of damage. It's doing more damage to your dots are barring UA. So Rapture being 19, Agony being, or UA being 17, Agony being 13, Drain being 11, Corruption 7, Siphon 5, PS, I guess 6, PS being 4, Darkleer being about 3.5, Haunt being here, Pandemic Invocation being about 2. It's very important to keep in mind here, though. Very, very important that Haunted Soul, the effect that increases all your dot damage by 20% is bugged and not working. So you can add 20% onto these. Not, you know, 13 plus 20, but like 13 plus, what, 2.5% roughly? So it'd be like 15.5% from Agony. And 19 basically from UA. It's not working. So the damage here is sort of misrepresented. But either way, UA being about 17%, let's say 30% here, 37, 43, 40... yeah, 47, like somewhere around like 50% of your damage is dots here. Once again, not including a 20% buff. So you're looking at what, I don't know, like 62-ish% of your dots roughly, or damage being dots roughly with this build. Not too bad. And it can even be higher if you maintain higher Dread Touch uptime, which I'm sure I probably didn't. Can you even see it here? You apparently can't. Oh, it's probably a debuff. But either way, higher Dread Touch uptime will lead to more dots. Higher damage overall, but that's the gist of it. Sort of similar to like retail now, but at the same time, a little different. A bit of a maintenance buff and Dread Touch, but overall, I think it's pretty enjoyable. I like it. I think it's a serious powerhouse possibly too on patchwork fights if the tuning is right. A similar build to the Dread Touch build, as you can see talent-wise, the main difference here is that we're playing Doom Blossom over Dread Touch, and this is more of an AoE build here. I played this build a little bit in Plus, not as much as I want to yet. I want to play it with this row enabled here, but once again, Haunted Soul is bugged, and like I think this is a pretty big part of this build, so I've just been playing this row here, like instead, Dark Caller, or I guess Darkleer, Malevolent Visionary, and Grim Reach for that 2-minute just big Darkleer AoE profile. The big thing here is that we're not playing Dread Touch for that single target, like dot increase, we're playing Doom Blossom. If Corruption damages a target affected by UA, it has a 10% chance per stack of Malefic Affliction to deal X shadow damage to nearby enemies, right? So Malefic Afflictions, once again, can stack to 3 stacks, and then once you're there, I mean, technically it can proc at 1 stack, 2 stacks, or 3 stacks, right? This ability is a bit more rewarding when you're like in a setting where packs will live for a longer time, maybe a council-based fight, for example, where you can get that, you know, consistent every time Corruption ticks a, you know, 1 in 3 chance or 1 in 3/3, whatever it is, to get that random shadow AoE proc, right? I've seen it be really good on certain pulls, and I've seen it be very bad on certain pulls, because in the end, it is RNG, you know, it's 1 in 3 chance, essentially, whatever, a little bit higher than that, but, if a pack lives for a while, you can like get your thing set up, you know, cast your abilities, cast a bunch of raptures, and it still lives for a while after that. This ability can be very, very strong at AoE. Plus, you have Darkleer once again with Grim Reach. Every 2 minutes, big AoE profile from your Darkleer, very, very strong. The thing with this build, we're not as strong in single target though, because we're not playing, you know, Haunted Soul. We are playing Haunt for a bit of that extra push. We're not playing Haunted Soul. We're not playing Pandemic Invocation. We aren't playing Harvester of Souls, which is still pretty bad either way. You can go through here right? You can go through here and put 2 points to get down to like Drain Soul instead. I've opted to go through here, Nightfall, Shadow's Embrace, which is 3 points. But I feel this build needs Shadow's Embrace and more single target. It seems very, very lacking when it comes to that. And plus, if you do the actual Harvester of Souls play here, you can go like into ID with a point and maybe pull a point from like Sack and put ID in there as well. We're not playing Soul Rot. However, if we are playing a build with Soul Rot, that choice becomes a lot more relevant. So we're playing Soul Flame here, no ID, Sacrolash obviously for Vile Taint, Exhaustion slows, AC, and no Agonizing Corruption. I think this ability is interesting. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's like worth 2 talent points. Obviously Seed, obviously so. Besides that, big 2-minute Dark Lair, Grim Reach damage, and like just if a pack lives for a while, that consistent 1 in 3 chance every time Corruption ticks, do AB damage. This ability I think is being underplayed a bit. It's very, very solid. And when this ability is actually not bugged anymore, I think a build of like this row and this row, grabbing Dark Lair, obviously not these two, but Dark Lair, this full row here, Haunted Soul, and this full row here could be really, really strong as well. With that being said though, let's take a look at this in combat. We're playing Dark Call or Dark Lair, Grim Reach, 2-minute AoE things. I opted for Wrath of Consumption here over Haunt. If you want more single target, which you probably do at some point, you can play Haunt over it. It's fine. Just pull the point out and put it in there. I believe this should work with Doom Blossom. I believe it's Corruption doing damage from the actual Doom Blossom, just in a different form being called Doom Blossom. I'll have to look at it at some points in logs and break it down. But either way, like this build, once again, more MA stacks, higher chance for Doom Blossom to proc, and I will say this build is like exceptionally simple. It feels like you're missing a button or two. Yeah, so we're playing Sack, Pet is sacked here. There's that. We're going to precast Seed, and Tank's running in. Sure. Cast our Vile Taint. Check us out. Precast Seed, Vile Taint UA, Dark Lair. There's your opener. Rapture 3 times. 1, 2, 3 for this. Then we can drain here for Shadow's Embrace stacks. Now, you could, like, theoretically just drain before the actual Raptures, but I'm pretty sure you want to stack your MA, like, just to 3 as fast as possible. And that is literally it. The build is sort of interesting. Like, I mean, it's sort of cool, I guess. I don't know. I don't hate it. Big thing is maintain your UAs. Maintain SC, maintain your UA, and that's it. That's where you get your procs from. The big thing here as well is that, so you will have to refresh Agonies 1 time in between every Vile Taint. So they made Vile Taint a half-a-minute cooldown. Agony lasts 18 seconds. A little longer if you pandemic it, but for the most part, you're gonna have to refresh every once in a while. The big thing here, just make sure UA does not fall. If it falls, you can refresh it. Like put it back up and just Rapture 3 times. With Soul Tap, it's pretty easy to do, honestly. I would assume if you're in combat, you probably don't have as many charges spent as we do now. With Soul Tap, you're taking damage. But either way, this build's very simple. Very straightforward. It's not very complicated. We Vile Taint again here. And you really just pray for Doom Blossom procs. My SE fell, but it's whatever. I'm barely paying attention to it. It doesn't really matter a whole lot in this setting either way. You just pray for Doom Blossom procs in AoE. And that's the gist of it. I'm assuming it's going to be somewhere around like 7.5% to 8% of our damage. But it's sort of similar to like Grim Reach. It'll scale with more targets, right? In different settings, it'll just scale more and more. So now we have our Vile Taint coming up in about 6 seconds here. Agonies are refreshed. I'll blow the Vile Taint here, and I'll wait for my Dark Lair to come back around, and then we'll cast Dark Lair and see where our damage is at. So there's the Vile Taint. Agony refresh. I'll Rapture a bunch here. Why not? I'll cast my Soul Keeper. Sort of cool. Doesn't do any damage, but sort of cool. Drainer for Shadow's Embrace. And we have Dark Lair in 10. Vile Taint in about 18. We have no shards, but check us out. Now we have 5 shards from Soul Tap. Very exciting ability. My Agonies are falling. Try and catch them before they fall. Catch that, catch that, catch that. Very sick, very cool, very exciting. My UA is still up. There we go. Let's move this. Do that. We can Rapture once here. We can go Vile Taint. We can Dark Lair. We can Soul Tap once. And we dump these shards. And this Dark Lair is going to last half minute from the Grim Reach. And once again, I should mention the Haunted Soul is indeed bugged. The talent in this row right here. I think there's a build playing this row over this row. But I do want to see how this build looks just raw damage-wise with, you know, like in a setting where, like, I'm not playing a bugged ability in Haunted Soul. In single target, it's a little different, but in this setting, it's a little hard to sort of, you know, extrapolate out a bugged ability when it buffs all your dots. So that being said, let's take a look at the damage here. Combat log. All right. And once again, forgive me for the logs being broken. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. Blish just disable add-ons for some random reason. So, Doom Blossom. Alrighty. So, damage breakdown overall. I'm expecting Doom Blossom to be like 7.5 to 8% of my damage in 4 target. It could be higher, could be lower. Let's see. 2.5 minutes, damage done. This is like 1100 DPS lower than the other build we played with Soul Rot, FYI. Doom Blossom is about 10%, a little higher than I thought, actually. And the cool thing, like I said, as long as they're stacked, I mean, it'll hit like 5 targets, 6 targets, 7 targets. It'll sort of scale in relevancy in a sense, right? It's not capping. I don't believe it's capping anything, right? It'll scale, right? Now, it's not doing, you know, like 30% of your damage or anything, but it's still relevant. The damage is just still, it's there regardless, right? Agony being 20%, Corruption being 13, Dark Lair being 10.4. Sort of expected without Soul Rot being mixed into the equation here. Just higher dot damage from Agony and Corruption. Rapture being about 20, Grim Reach being at 7.5, regular IV damage being at 2.5, UA being 6, Vial Taint being 6.28, Sack being 6%, Drain Soul being 5.7, Soul Combustion from our Soul Keeper dude here, 1%. He's terrible. Obviously, it's a buff. Not even trolling. And the initial seed from the opener here. So, I mean, a little surprising, honestly. And like I said, there could very easily be a build playing Haunted Soul with Doom Blossom and just foregoing the Dark Lair Grim Reach build for more of a consistent like damage profile, right? Because like you'll want Dark Lair, but if you just go like, let's say you go like this, you know, pull points out of here, like do this and this instead, you still have Dark Lair every 2 minutes. It's not AoEing everything, but you have a more consistent profile. Every pack you're going to have the option of having Doom Blossom up if you Rapture 3 times. You're going to have the option of having Haunted Soul up basically all the time for a flat 20% damage buff to all your damage overtime effects, right? It's just good. Just solid overall. 2 different versions you can play here. Once this is fixed, we'll probably test with it again. But yeah, it's relatively impressive. And it can bring good prior damage too. We're playing Shadow's Embrace, Nightfall, Haunt, and yeah. Overall, I'm impressed. Very close to the Soul Rot build here. And yeah, it's, if you don't like hitting a million buttons, you hit literally 3. So yeah, not too bad. So the final build that I've been playing in dungeons, more of the AoE focused build, is this Grim Reach 2-minute, obviously Dark Lair build with Grim Reach, Malevolent Visionary here, and Soul Rot. Soul Eater's Gluttony, Dark Harvest, and Wrath of Consumption. Now, this build has been pretty spicy. I've liked this build a lot in Mythic Plus, in dungeons and AoE council-based settings. It's been really good. Precast Seed of Corruption, cast your Vial Taint, roll a UA, roll a Soul Rot, Dark Lair, huge Grim Reach cleave. Like, IB damage is increased by every single dot you have active. And this Dark Lair goes for half a minute. It does huge damage, even in 2 target, 3 target, 4 target. It's wild the damage you can put out, right? Gluttony being very strong as well. It gives you about a half-minute cooldown on your unstable, on your Soul Rot if UA is ticking permanently. I've seen it around like 35, 36-ish with like 8% haste roughly. More haste obviously be faster, but it makes Soul Rot line up pretty well with Vial Taint most of the time, with it being half-minute cooldown. This build's been a lot of fun. Now, we are playing Sack here, Creeping Death, Soul Temp obviously. I don't like Harvester of Souls here, but I mean, we're a little like scarce on points, so I opted just to go here and skip the Nightfall, Shadow's Embrace part of the tree, which I think is pretty relevant in single target, but just the world we live in. I will say, I have not had a chance to play this build with ID. I can't pull points out of Harvester of Souls to put him here because I have to grab Drain Soul. We can pull a point from Sack, and we can pull Wrath Consumption if we want here. I wanted to see how Wrath Consumption was, though, because it obviously increases dot damage, increases Soul Rot damage, all that, with Gluttony being relevant there too, but it also increases ID drain damage. I think you're going to want, if you're playing this row, you're probably going to want to be playing ID to some extent. I haven't played it yet. We're not going to look at it in this video because I haven't had a chance to play it yet. If it's good, when we test it in a few days, we'll look at it then. But this could be very, very relevant. Now, I think you're pulling a point from Wrath regardless and putting it either in Haunt or finding some way to put, like, you know, a point here in ID. Maybe pull Sack and put it in ID too, so you have this filled out here. But then you're lacking in single target a bit. You don't have Nightfall, no Shadow's Embrace, no Haunt, no Pandemic Invocation, and you're in a really awkward spot, right? I will say Soul Flame's bug still. It's certainly going to be worth it in the long run, but it's a bug right now. So, I mean, I could pull points out of here and put it here for testing, but I mean, I want to play a build that I'm probably going to play in Plus in general, even if the build is bugged, right? So, that's possible. 2 different variations here, but either way, this general template right here, wherever it went here, has been really impressive in dungeons, and like honestly, one of my favorites to play. Grim Reach just cranks. and Soul Rot being a half-ish, 30-ish second cooldown feels really good to press. With that being said, let's look at it in combat. Alrighty, so we're looking at the Grimreach Soul Rot build here in AoE. Once again, we're not playing ID. I'll test the build at some point. If it's good, I'll make a video on it. I just realized that add-ons are disabled again on Valdrakken for whatever reason, so I'll log the actual like thing here. Just bear with me. It's gonna be a little clunky. I don't know what else to tell you. Close to launch. So that being said, let's do it. So like the way I envision this for the most part, we are playing Grimoire Sacrifice here. So I'll pull this. I'll pull my pet out here just to get. You know, it's our kick pet. Why not? Sure. You wanted a soulbound kick. Here you go in a sense, right? So Sacrifice once again is doing a lot of damage with those Demonic Inspiration and Wrath of Minion. So we'll look at that here as well. Now the big thing, I'm assuming like we're pulling a pack, tank's running in. I end up precasting my Seed of Corruption, like right about here, going Seed into a Vile Taint. So pop that right there, put up my UA, my Soul Rot, my Dark Lair. I'll soul tap like once or twice here, put down my Soul Keeper and start rapturing. Just rapture. And you'll see the damage here, whenever you pull the log up in a minute or so, is actually pretty insane. To be fair, you might want to rapture a little earlier there, just based around, you know, not capping on shards. But the big thing here, these agonies, you have to refresh them one time, and make sure to maintain your UA as much as possible, because that's what's reducing the cooldown on Soul Rot here, right? You'll see my Dark Lair still going. We have Vile Taint about now, and we have Soul Rot in like 7 seconds. 7, 6, 5. So about a 35-ish second cooldown, roughly. We can Vile Taint again here. Soul Rot again here. We have a Soul Tap once. We have this big damage profile every 35-ish seconds, give or take. It's really impressive. It feels really good. That's just, look at these raptures too with Soul Conduit and just Soul Tap here. They're so wild the amount of shard you can get times 2. There's so much shard gen. And that's how the majority of packs feel in Mythic Plus. You're going to have a little bit of like desync from time to time. I have a bit more here. I think my UA might have fallen, but for the most part, like with more haste and just things in general, you're going to have that Vile Taint Soul Rot window basically nearly every half a minute, roughly. I'm going to Vile Taint one more time here, cast my Soul Rot once again, Rapture a bunch here. My UA is falling. I can refresh it now. Just spam some Raptures. I have my, so the weird thing here is I have my Dark Lair coming up in about 40-ish seconds roughly, right? So I'll probably end up holding my actual like Soul Rot, like Vile Taint Soul Rot window for that Dark Lair, just because of like how relevant the Grimreach Cleave is, right? Not really wanting to hold it anymore. I will say not having actual nameplates in here is making this terribly hard to dot things too. That's just I guess life. So we'll wait for our Dark Lair here, do one more damage cycle, and then look at the actual damage overall. So redot, I'll redot again here. Probably didn't need to, it came back around right now, but it's fine. I'll hold for a second. Alright, this is good enough. We're gonna toss this here, put up my UA, go Soul Rot, big Dark Lair, and a bunch of Rapture spam once again. Rapture, Rapture, and he goes for half a minute. Like, the damage he puts out is actually wild. You'll see in the breakdown here, both like his damage and I-beam damage are separate. So it's important to keep in mind when you see Grim Reach damage, it's not just Grim Reach. It's both that and the actual damage from I-beam. So let's wait for this to fall. There he goes. It's end combat here. Let's try and pull up the log. All right, let me find this. Let's see. All right, what time? It's 4:30 in the morning. Great. Lord have mercy. All right. Soul Rot. Testing. Sure. Sorry, guys. I gotta bear with me for a sec. This is a little awkward with add-ons not working for whatever reason again. But here is the actual log. So right here, bam. Overall damage 55,000 DPS. Decent bit, but we are in crafted gear here. Damage done. The overall breakdown. So Dark Lair being about 10% of our damage roughly. Grim Reach being about 7.5. I-beam being about 2.5. And once again, he'll do more damage by a decent bit in 5 targets and 6 targets because you have more dots up on every target. So every single I-beam will hit harder on every single mob because it scales almost exponentially with more targets and more dots, right? Rapture being about 30, Agony being about 19, 18.5. We'll say 19. We'll say 18. Corruption being about 14. Soul Rot being about 6, Vile Taint about 6, Sacrifice being about 6 here too. It's not as strong in AoE, but in single target, it's very, very strong, right? So about 18, 20, about 32%, about 38%, 44%. About like, if you consider this, like 45, 50% of our damage is dots. UA2 as well. Not terrible overall, but what this build has is consistency. Every roughly half a minute, you have that soul art window, that bio tank window. Every 2 minutes, the big dark layer, dot extensions, raptures. If you have value out of like soul tap at times, if you're not taking damage, this build can give you so many shards too for rapture windows. Like it just soul tap's wild, soul conduit's wild at times too. But this build with the huge dark layer every 2 minutes, soul rot, dark harvest, having this sync here is pretty nice as well. It just feels really strong in AoE. Once again, the problem though is lack of damage in single target. So yeah, that about wraps it up. Thanks for watching, guys. I've enjoyed playing AF on beta a good bit. I haven't played a whole lot with Doom Blossom build, but the Dread Touch build and the actual like Grim Reach Soul Art build have been a lot of fun. Hopefully during raid testing, we can play with more Dread Touch stuff, see how it actually is on bosses, which is happening on Thursday and Friday. Once again, if I have power from the hurricane, internet, and things, well, I'll be testing it on stream. And I should hopefully have the footage on this channel within, you know, a few hours or so. If I don't, and you guys don't see me for a few days, I probably lost power and or lost internet. I don't think I will, but, you know, we'll see where it goes. So, yeah. Now, if you guys liked the video, be sure to smash the like button below, hit the sub button right down there as well. And if I missed any builds in this video or any interactions or something in general you want to mention, drop down below in the comment section, and I will indeed be sure to get back to you. Before we end, I want to give one massive shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys for support on Patreon. Once again, a million times. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Once again, the Dragonflight Beta Warlock spreadsheet is indeed now live on Patreon as well. The Tier 3 Fellow Guard rank or higher does indeed get early access to that. If you're interested in supporting on Patreon, link up here as well as down in the video description below. All that being said, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.